proud to welcome you into a brand new edition of Laurel's List. Every now and then we are greeted by Laurel Lunsford herself to rank certain subjects that I have assigned, and this time it is a subject that she knows all about. Taylor Swift. We've already seen one Laurel's List before of the best eras that Taylor Swift has been a part of. Well, this feels like an entirely different type of venture in the Tortured Poets department. Laurel, thank you for being here.
No, I'm so excited. And, you missed, I think you said all too well instead of, but it's fine.
Missed opportunity.
It's good. It's missed opportunity, but we got it in there. It's fine.
At least Swifties aren't judgmental in any way about what is said or what isn't said, but I'm working on it. I will get better, I promise you that, and enhance my reputation.
Oh, I like that. That was a good one. That's a good one. Yeah,
I saved it.
I like
See
that.
what I did there? John, you look red.
You were born in 1980. I don't know.
I was born in 1989, actually. And this has been a week span that we've had to digest this latest album. And am I right that it's sort of come out to mixed reception? Am I right or wrong about that?
You're right. I think it is for some people and definitely not for other people. Like, this is probably the most different of her albums. I'm going to be straight up. I loved it. But I have been following her. I mean, we're about the same age. So, I've been with her through her whole career. There's a lot of lore on this. There's a lot of different things that if you aren't chronically online, then you probably won't pick up on. And I think some people are missing that. But also, I think there's a lot of humor in this album that people are taking as being serious, if that makes sense.
So I have tasked you with your 5 biggest takeaways from this latest album. I didn't want to do 5 best songs or just something that was very straightforward. I wanted you to basically tell me what themes I'm missing here. I wanted you to get into some of the tea being spilled. I wanted all of the juicy details because
you have come to the right place.
It's there. Really quickly, though, before we begin, E.G., this is an album you started off not feeling, and
I was
then
shaky.
24 hours later, you tell me you love it.
Yeah.
It was like an overnight moment where it hits you. It takes a while to digest.
Well, we've talked about it, that the first half of the album, the one that was released, the Tortured Poets Department, I didn't love it at first. It kind of ran together a little bit. But then the second half that was released at 2 a.m., I was like, wait a second here. And I had not gotten around to listening to it for a few hours. And now I'm on board. And I have 5 or 6 songs that I'm just replaying.
And now you're trying to convince Laurel, I don't know if you've already started, to come with you to Sweden to see
Taylor
Swift.
I haven't started yet.
Hey, it's midsummer.
Oh, gosh. That's not a good selling pitch.
Listen,
Taylor
2
Swift
weeks.
Midsummer.
Laurel, 2 weeks.
Oh.
2.5 weeks.
Exactly. That will be me. Yeah. No.
Yeah, it was tough enough to get John to see the movie, much less participate in the actual event. Okay, enough stalling. Let's start off with your 5th biggest takeaway from the Tortured Poets department.
I think, how we say a lot of the times, Tim will especially know this because we love horror movies. You know how there's certain red herrings in movies?
Yeah.
I think this album was a red herring. I think everyone thought we were preparing for Joe, which a lot of the Swifties call him jobless. You can put together why. That this album was going to be all about spilling the tea on him. And it comes to find out, I think he just did not want to get married. And I think he was kind of a dud. I mean, I don't think he cheated on her. A lot of people will say that they think that he did. Maybe so.
How long was this relationship?
Almost 7 years.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So, I mean, you can listen on, I think that on number 5, which a lot of Swifties will know, track 5 on most of her albums is usually a really good song, a really gut-wrenching song, and that's So Long London. And I think she kind of lays it out there that she really tried. She wanted to marry this guy, and he just didn't seem to want to commit. But I think everyone thought it was going to be mainly about him, and I don't really think that it is.
You say So Long London, I say Hello London there in the number 5 spot, as it has made Laurel's list. In a way, I think it's my personal favorite song on the album.
It's mine too.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yes.
Did we
so
capture
good.
any of that high five?
We did. I got it from
Is it
both
not
ankles.
so good?
I think it is.
I think the lyric of the album that you can take away from it is when she says that you swore that you loved me, but where were the clues? I died at the altar waiting for the proof, which lets you know right there she was waiting for this man to commit and to marry her, and he never did.
Wow. This is getting deep. I've got all the feels right now. John, we're starting this list off strong.
We are. It's not my favorite song from it, but we started the listening at midnight because we were on our way to Disney World when it happened. So we go through and listen. The first song's one with Post Malone, and then it's like, yeah, it's okay, and then it's okay. We get to that song, and I'm like, something about that song just clicked more than anything we've listened to so far. And if you look at who did the songs, it's the first non-Jack Antonoff song.
Really?
And you may get to this, I don't know in a minute, but that's when Aaron Dessner comes in and starts doing music again. And that's the first song you hear. He does others, but that's the first one you hear that he produced instead. And I'm like, that's what hits about it. Not only is it a good song, but I feel like it's way better produced. I feel like I've been doing a drive-by on Jack Antonoff all week long.
With you? It's
just something about the stuff he did versus the stuff Aaron Dessner did just doesn't quite click with me.
Okay. Who did Florida?
Florida was
I think
Jack Antonoff.
Yeah, he did that one.
I like Florida as
I
well.
like Florida as well.
I don't
Oh my God.
I love it.
It was all right.
I don't love it.
Laurel and I have very
It
similar.
reminds me of an A24 movie. It reminds me of Spring Breakers.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Oh,
that's what I
gosh.
think
okay,
of.
Don't
when
ruin
I'm-
it for
okay.
me. Let's go to number 4 on Laurel's list.
Number 4, and this is kind of going off with what I said at number 5. I think a lot of her muses, which I think there's 3 main ones on this album, but I think a lot of them have been weaved together. I think a lot of people are like, oh, this is a Joe song. Oh, this is a Maddie song. This is a Travis song. Now, the Travis songs do stand out.
I agree.
You can pinpoint those. You exactly know who she's talking about. Now, the ones about Maddie Healy, I think on The Smallest Man, like that one, you can definitely, because she says Jehovah's Witness suits, which if you're a fan of the 1975, which I do like them, I have no problem with him. I think they're a good band. He wears a suit that looks very much like a Jehovah's Witness in a lot of his concerts because there is kind of like an experience with that. So you know it's talking about him. So on London, you know it's talking about Joe. Well, a lot of the other songs, I think they're kind of interweaved together because they're both British. They both kind of have some similarities, both around kind of the same time. I just think that it's not just about one person. So I found that interesting.
Okay. I also find that interesting. I don't have much to add other than I know the song Chocolate by the 1975.
I think
And there was that line though, Laurel, the 7 chocolate bars.
yes, they did have that
Tortured
in there.
Post
See, I knew I would
Yeah.
contribute
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yes, that's
Round of
on
applause.
the title though.
The
Torture
title
Poet.
track.
Yes, and on that one, I think she is definitely talking about Maddie Healy in that one as well. But I think it's in the manuscript. I actually think she takes a few other things that even kind of goes back to. And I don't think she's talking about Jake Gyllenhaal or John Mayer or any of these people. I think she's talking about her past. And also, when we went to the tour, one of the things she says is these songs are now yours and these experiences are now yours. So I think it could be talking about things that maybe you've experienced in your life as well, not just what's happened in her
Okay.
life.
Because I am an ignorant individual when it comes to Taylor Swift. Ignorant maybe is not the word, but I don't know a ton. Does she do any of the songs off of this album during her tour? Has she previewed any of them?
Here's what I think will happen, and this is going to actually go into my number 3. I think this will be one of her shortest eras. I think I highly doubt that she'll ever intertwine these or go on a tour for any of these songs.
I don't think she can.
I think what she'll do is when Travis is at the shows, because he goes to a lot of her, and he's already said recently that he's going to go to a lot of her European shows. I think she'll sing the songs that are for him. I think she'll sing those during the surprise songs. When they're in London, I'm sure she'll sing a few of those that were maybe about Joe. Otherwise, I think that this is going to be her shortest one that she's probably had, because there hasn't been a huge rollout for it.
I was going to say, did that have anything to do with the marketing? Because it really
I
was
think the
just an
marketing-
announcement.
Yeah.
Honestly,
and
I
then-
think the marketing killed it because all they really had was the Grammy announcement. She did a playlist with 5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
And the way a lot of people picked up on the songs about Travis was because on the acceptance, that's like all the happy songs. And the only happy songs are the ones about him that ended up on that playlist.
Gosh.
But-
This list is on fire.
But she did a pop-up in LA, which if we had been in LA, you know we would have gone to.
Oh, yeah.
It was set up kind of like a library, and it was like a card case, and it had 6 drawers pulled out, and it had 72 card cases, which stood for 6 years. And for 6 years, and for how many months they were together. And it had like wedding invitations that had never been sent, and like
Oh my
pieces of
gosh.
like old veils and like flowers that had wilted. So I mean, you get the point
Wow.
of Christ for what I think. I think this was a chapter closing for her.
Wow. I hope
This
I
does seem like an epilogue. Eras Tour is everything. This is the epilogue, and there's going to be like this whole new
Yes.
wave that starts after that.
I agree.
Wow. Okay. Let's move on to number 3. I can't believe we're only 2 spots into this. I don't know how much we've probably already talked about already, but let's keep going.
And I'm going to agree with the majority here. I think I was surprised in how much I liked the second album drop, which is still part of the same album, but I guess it's called
The Anthology.
The Anthology. How much better it is than the first album.
Mostly done by Dessner, by the way.
Antonov did
great. Most of the first
I
one.
love Aaron Dessner.
John,
I'm
you
just
are
saying.
a total jerk.
I mean, Dessner did some on the original, and Antonov did some on the Anthology, but it is almost a clear split between the two. Just saying.
And I think also something that's really interesting to look at is the sound. I feel like her more poetic maybe sounding songs are probably with him, and Jack Antonoff is always like this heavy bass with like these really depressing lyrics a lot of the time. But I loved the So High School song, which was obviously about Travis, which I think we all love Travis Kelce, right? I that song on surface level, you hear it and you're like, this is so silly. This is just, but the thing about it is, if you listen to the song, and again, you have to be chronically online, and I hated that I understood every single reference in the song. It all ties back to things that he has said and certain things about his face and certain things that you would have to know is about him. So I think people love that song because I think they love them together.
Okay, so the overall theme of your third spot here is
the Anthology is better than the regular
Anthology
one.
is better.
Yeah.
okay. I didn't know maybe if Travis was going to get his own number or where we were with that, but let's go with number 2 now on Laurel's list.
I think, and I definitely do not think she is retiring, and I'm not saying that. I think that she is closing this chapter, like this chapter of the Eras, like the Eras tour. I don't think she will ever, with the exception of probably Travis, I don't think she'll ever mention these people again. Like, I think that's why the Kim Kardashian track is on there. Got one more jab at like maybe Kanye in there. Got, talking about some of her exes like John Mayer, Jay Jones. Some people have pieced some of those things. I don't think she'll ever mention these people again. I think this is it. She's closing the chapter on it. She's done with Joe. Maddie, if you really look into it, I don't personally believe this, but some people have been like, oh, they've been signaling to each other for 10 years through their songs, which if you deep dive long enough, then maybe you can kind of see it. I mean, I know that they've been friends for a long time, but I think he's engaged to someone. Joe won't have a career, but he'll be doing that move with Emma Stone. I guess he'll have something. And I think she's closing that, and this is kind of the end of that chapter for her.
Okay. The closest thing we would get to a royal wedding here in the States is Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift getting married.
I think if they stay together, I think they will be the equivalent of a David Beckham and Posh Spice. I mean,
what is the percentage chance that they end up getting married currently, in your opinion, Laurel?
I would say 90%.
Wow, that's really high.
Yeah.
I feel like that's too high. Any number over like
80%.
Even over like 60 is too high for Taylor Swift.
The only thing that really pushes me in that direction is you figure out like where her PR people like send things to, and a lot of it is through Entertainment Tonight or like People. Those are kind of the ones that people look to, and in every single one, it always is talking about next steps. Like they're looking forward to their next. I mean, they've been living together, I guess, for a while now because they're
almost a year now.
I mean,
it does seem like though a lot of this is coming from her and her people that she also I feel like felt this about Joe. To where like she wanted that. Clearly Joe did not, which is why this whole album is the way it is. That how much of that ultimately is going to be reciprocated by Travis. It seems like he's way more open to doing anything versus Joe. The interesting
is that he's on a podcast every week where he does mention her most of the time.
He does.
The other thing that to kind of go back to something else, about intertwining the muses and kind of using things from both. We don't know anything about Joe. So there was a song, it's called The Black Dog, which I also really like, that's on the Anthology. Everyone swore it was about Maddie.
Oh, I think it's about Joe.
It is, because people were like, oh, it's about Maddie. And everyone's like, no, I don't think so. And people were insistent. Well, lo and behold, they had the person who is the social media manager and someone that is the manager of this. This is an actual place in England. And they said it is a certain blonde actor that frequents this establishment. So,
gosh, this is like a Lifetime movie or something. There's so many
I do hate to
twists and
admit,
turns.
I like The Black Dog, but it's an Antonoff song.
Thank you, John, for finally talking
there you
well
go.
about my boy, Jack. Okay, we're now getting to your biggest takeaway here. This is, if people like drama, this is an album that they're probably going to find a lot more enjoyment out of. A lot of these songs do have sort of a similar vibe to them. They have a similar tone, and I don't know if that has led to some of the mixed reception, but I want to get to number one on Laurel's list. It couldn't have been easy to just pinpoint exactly what your biggest takeaway of the album was.
I think this is an album that she made for herself. I know that sounds crazy, but I think this is an album that this is a story that she needed to tell. She wanted to get these songs out there.
It's a form of therapy?
Yes, I think it's a huge storm. That's why I think earlier when I said that she's kind of closing and she says this in the prologue. She says that all of these things are now boarded up, and she even said there's no scores to settle, so don't go and harass any of these people. It's done. And I think she's ready to move on to the next chapter of her life. But I think that she made this album. It's one of the few that does not have a non-explicit version. So I think she just kind of said, whatever, I'm going to do these songs. And I think it's beaten every streaming.
It has set all kinds of records.
And that will ask the question, this might be her, but every time I say, I think this is her peak, then she does something else and it's over it. So I don't know if she really has a peak. I don't know if it applies to her.
I think we all know when the news comes out that she's officially engaged, that is going to be Taylor Mania all over again. We're kind of coming off a little bit of a high of it because this does feel a little bit more sullen. And obviously the Eras tour and everything that was happening with her appearing on these NFL games that became such a contested thing with so many people having issues with that. That was the peak, but an engagement sends that right back up to the very top. Am I right about that, John?
Yes, it does. And with this album, I feel like this one's for her. I went through and looked at the track listings to see who all actually has written a lot. Now, she writes all the songs, but she always does it almost every time with somebody. A lot of times it's Jack Antonoff. A lot of times it's Aaron Dessner, whoever it may be. The producers help her write the songs. This one has a lot of songs that are just written by her. She's the only one credited as a writer because, The Black Dog is a perfect example. You can tell that's something that you can tell exactly what it's about and exactly who she's talking to in it. She's like, this is my story. I don't need a producer to help me flesh it out. I'm good at this. I'm going to tell the story exactly how I want to tell this story, and then I'm done with it forever. But I'm going to do it. I know exactly what happened. I'm going to do this for me as a form of therapy, like you mentioned, and then I'm done with it forever.
She may have been the storyteller on this, but we needed someone to do the deep dive on all the different
honestly,
things.
I don't think any of the guys really come off that bad in it. I mean, I think Joe sounds like a dud, but I mean, we've seen all of his movies. So, I mean, it's not like he's really that, someone that you really, is enthralling. I think.
And we'll go see Kinds of Kindness too after.
Exactly. I mean,
Yorgos
in 1975,
yeah.
I liked them a lot when I was in college. They exist. I think that they're a good band. I think he's engaged to a model now, so I think he's fine, and she seems to be on top of the world, so I think it worked out for everyone.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and sort of breaking some of these codes for us. We appreciate it. After a week of release, the Tortured Poets Department. What do you think of the album? We'd love to hear in the comments section below. Did you start off maybe like E.G., where you weren't too hot on it, and then all of a sudden it's playing loop after loop after loop? Are you agreeing with the points being brought up? Are you disagreeing? We'd love to hear from you. John, one place we'd love to send all of our Meltdown fans. That's our title sponsor, MyBookie.
Go to mybookie.ag. You can bet on anything there. Probably bet on Taylor Swift's records there. You can go and bet on the NHL playoffs, the NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball, put some futures on football, play in that casino. A lot of great casino games there, both computer-controlled and live dealers as well with blackjack, roulette, all kind of games there. So go to mybookie.ag. You see right here, promo code next round. Use that. You get a first deposit bonus on us when you first sign up and make that first deposit. So go to mybookie.ag, bet anything, anytime, anywhere.
Laurel, we always appreciate the time.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you for being here with us with another edition of Laurel's List. More of those to come right here on the Meltdown channel. Make sure you like this video and subscribe.